Wouldn't it be better if you put her someplace?
You mean an institution? A madhouse?
You just found the marble in the oatmeal. You're a lucky, lucky, lucky little boy. Do you know why? You get to drink from the fire hose! Okay, you ready? Open wide! I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Hey, you want to see crazy?
You really are crazy.
I don't get it, Doc. I mean, how can all this be happening? It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's Hill Valley, although I can't imagine hell being much worse.
Now you want to get nuts? Shut up, you freak! Come on! I say shut up! It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
Hello and welcome to Movie Madhouse, a podcast about films lost to the annals of time. I'm Travis Fishburne.
And I'm Alex Brunel.
And this week we'll be discussing the 1992 movie Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Yes.
A sequel to the 1989 smash hit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
And what a sequel it is. We have some interesting tidbits about this movie. It's not an uninteresting movie. It's not a great movie, but it's not an uninteresting movie.
Oh no, not at all.
As we've been doing at the top of the show, I just want to take a moment to remind everybody that there is currently huge social change going on in the country, even if major media outlets aren't covering it so much anymore. There was a huge, many thousands of people protest in Chicago this past weekend. There was in Colorado, police violently broke up a peaceful protest regarding Elijah McClain. And but other good stuff has been happening. $1 billion has been cut from the NYPD. And Minneapolis is abolishing its police department. It was voted on. So just stay out there, stay active, keep educating yourself. Educate those who can be helped, and stay on the right side. Black Lives Matter, guys.
Yes.
And so that's my crusade bit at the beginning of the show. But in non-crusade matters, I now own 2 animation cells from Adventures in Dinosaur City.
Yeah.
That, Travis, you showed me existed. I'm going to cut to me really quick just to show these. There's this guy, this one.
Check those out.
Which is not great glare off computer screen, so sorry about that. And then this one. So the backgrounds are reproductions, but they're 2 cells from the sequence that rips off Chernobog from Fantasia. So
yeah,
happy owner of those great. Now. Yeah, they actually do. I can't wait to hang them next to each other. I just got to get some frames. So yeah, and we're also in slightly higher definition this week. I'm testing my internet's capability by trying to push out a whole 720 pixel resolution.
Wow,
of video.
You're gonna be doing it in 4K soon enough.
Oh. I'd have to get like a business connection for that or something.
Yeah.
So here we are with Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. No, single kid, one kid.
Yeah.
Blew it up. And
blew up one kid, shrunk 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, I love that mug. I'm only seeing it now.
Angela, my lovely lady, got this for me for my birthday. So this movie is about the Zielinski family is back, with 2-year-old Adam being a new member of the family. This time, hilarious disaster strikes when accidental exposure to Wayne's new industrial-sized growth machine causes Adam to gradually grow to enormous size. So, we basically have a toddler Godzilla in Las Vegas kind of scenario.
Yes. Which could have been a lot more deadly than
Way. And I have a bunch of notes about the Las Vegas sequence, which is a sequence in the movie that I really like. But there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So,
had it been written by the same horror writers of the first film, maybe it would have ended more tragically.
Perhaps there would have been some violence and some death, but no. So I just do want to make the note that Travis and I looked around for information about Honey, I Blew Up the Kid because it does have an interesting backstory, which we've learned basically via Wikipedia and the IMDb trivia section. And that's kind of all we could find.
Yeah.
We looked around. We tried to get like some dirt or maybe the actual original script or a review of the original script or something. Couldn't find it. So
Anything.
a lot of what I'm gonna say about the background of the movie is more or less just a cut and paste from IMDb trivia, which is a great place to start. I remember IMDb trivia was where I first learned about a lot of behind the scenes things of Star Wars when I first got on the internet in like 1997.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So this movie, I love this bit of trivia. This is so fun because it's such like an inconsequential movie. This movie was not written to be a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It was a totally unrelated spec script called Big Baby. Which I love as a title because it's just, what is this movie about? Ah, yes, I see it says here on the box, Big Baby. Got it.
It's as descriptive as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It is.
Tells you what it's all about.
And even a bit more descriptive than Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, which was originally Honey, I Blew Up the Baby, but that conjured up images of exploded babies, which Disney was not comfortable with. So Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
But if you blow up kids, it's okay.
That's okay then.
Babies, you've gone too far.
Babies can't
Never
think for
blow up the
themselves. But like a kid might be a jerk.
Yeah.
So Big Baby was about exactly what Honey, I Blew Up the Kid is about. It's about a freak accident involving a growth ray and a giant Godzilla-esque baby terrorizes Las Vegas in a non-violent way. Disney got their hands on the script and saw the possibilities of making it into a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids follow-up. So it was retooled, and it wasn't even retooled that well. Because one of the very first things that happens in the movie is Amy Zielinski, the older sister character, is just written out of the movie. She goes away to college, and we never see her again. And the reason for that is simply there was no analog to Amy in Big Baby. So rather than figuring out how to weave her into the already existing plot, just ditch her. Just get rid of her for the whole movie.
There's nowhere to plug her in.
With some effort, it would have been easy. I don't know if we needed that Nick subplot. We could have kept it in the family and had that be Nick and Amy. I don't know.
I thought about that as well. I'm like, they could have had her there as well.
Yeah.
They needed to launch Kerry Russell's career.
She needed the part in Michael Davis's 8 Days a Week.
Yeah.
Which was just a few years later. So other movies, other significant movies that have had this kind of done to them, like their spec script that was totally unrelated that was then brought into a franchise. Probably the best example of when it worked better than it should in any case is Die Hard with a Vengeance, which was an unrelated script retrofitted to be about John McClane. Great movie. Die Hard with a Vengeance is fantastic. Speed 2 Cruise Control, similar, not better, not great results. 10 Cloverfield Lane was another one. Hey, bud. And I learned Ocean's 12 was that way also. Apparently, George Nolfi had written this screenplay about two master thieves trying to prove who's the best. And Ocean's 11 was a huge hit, and that script was just kind of around town. And whoever saw it was like, oh, if we just retooled this, we could get an Ocean's 11 sequel very fast. So that's what they did. And to their credit, they actually hired Nolfi to revise the script with Soderbergh, rather than just taking the script and plundering its bones and retooling it.
Nice.
And I think most of the last 4 Hellraiser movies were also the same. Not like the modern day iterations, but like the 90s and early 2000s direct-to-video ones. I think those were mostly like other unrelated scripts that were batting around Dimension that they just inserted Pinhead into and called a Hellraiser movie.
Wow.
So
was Halloween 3 Season of the Witch the same thing?
No, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was John Carpenter specifically wanted to turn that into a different franchise altogether. Mm-hmm. He was bored of Michael Myers and thought it would be more interesting for every year on Halloween for there to be another movie under the Halloween banner to come out. And it would be just kind of this big anthology series of Halloween-oriented films where the only commonality is that they take place on Halloween. Which is really unfortunate that didn't work out, because number 1, that's a great idea. Number 2, Halloween 3 is awesome.
Yeah. I love Halloween 3.
When I first saw that movie, I could not believe that was the movie that I had been told for years to avoid like the plague, because I'm like, this is fun as hell. Why do people not like this? I understand.
Because you were told to avoid it by Michael Myers fanboys.
Yeah, the old Michael Myers diehards. So, like we've said, the baby gets enlarged. The baby gets largified in this movie. Mm-hmm. And the special effects are pretty solid throughout. There's an actor named Alex Daniels inside a giant suit made by Kevin Yeager Studio. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say he's credited as Uncle Janosch.
Which I just think is really funny.
Yeah, because that's the guy that Wayne Zielinski claims he is in the lab.
Uncle Janosch. And I do want to point out that this movie plus Ghostbusters 2 as a kid made me think that Janosch was more common of a name than I think it is.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
So there's a guy in this. So when Adam was like 7 feet tall, there was a guy in this suit. Kevin Yeager and his effects company put that together. And Kevin Yeager is probably best known for creating the original Chucky doll. That was his design. Oh. He also did a lot of work on some Freddy Krueger movies. He did The Stations and the good robot Bill and Ted and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He worked on The Hidden, Face Off, adaptation, Master of Disguise. So great thing there. Interestingly, there was also a lawsuit regarding this movie where a guy named Paul Alter, who is a game show producer. He claimed to have come up with an idea of an oversized toddler after babysitting his granddaughter and watching her knock over building blocks. He wrote a screenplay called Now That's a Baby, which had not been made into a film, but went through some level of development. So because the movie was actually about a baby daughter of two scientists who accidentally enlarged their child, the jury actually found in his favor, and Disney had to pay this guy $300,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you have notes about what the guys who played the kids grew up to be in your cast notes?
Oh, no, I do not.
Okay, so the twin boys who played Adam in this movie, Daniel and Joshua. Daniel became a firefighter, and Joshua became a digital technologist, whatever that means. But they became things. This is an interesting...
More info on them than Robert Oliveri, who played Nick.
Yes!
He's fallen off the map. I've been trying to find pictures of him. I've been trying to find any info on Robert Oliveri that I can, and there's nothing on him.
Was he in that little mini reunion on Prop Culture or no?
No, he was not.
He was the one that was absent, right?
Kids, but yeah, not him.
Interesting. That's so weird.
I found some pictures online, but they don't look like him. People are claiming it's him. I don't think it's him.
Like weird TMZ pictures of this guy.
Yeah, these people that they're claiming is him, it just looks bad.
That's so bizarre.
So, if you are Robert Oliveri or somebody who knows who he is, yeah.
We'll dedicate a whole episode to just talking about your experiences with the Honey movies, the Honey Eye franchise.
Though it kind of seems clear that he does not want to do that.
If he didn't come back for the Disney show, and he came back for our podcast, that would be very funny, and wrong. This movie, this is a thing this is just funny. I just think this is funny. The movie was the beneficiary of a boycott in the summer of '92. Mm-hmm. Police departments objected to Warner Brothers' release of Ice-T. Well, it's not Ice-T, it's Body Count, the song "Cop Killer." Yeah. Which was a big deal in 1992. Ice-T's...
We don't have any issues like that anymore, thank goodness.
Right, exactly. So police departments asked their members to see Honey, I Blew Up the Kid instead of Warner Brothers' Batman Returns. Yes. So I guess this movie got a little bit of a box office bump from cops who wanted to see a movie but refused to support Warner Brothers. What weird BS politics. You know, it's a wonder that anything ever got done. and that we escaped those problems. Oh, wait.
Also, it's interesting this movie came out the same summer as Batman Returns did, because the first movie and the original Batman were released on the same weekend.
Yeah. That's interesting that the sequels had similar turnarounds.
Yeah.
And one had a lot more work that went into it, I feel like. And it's not this one.
What?
And apparently also the twins were contracted to appear in 2 more Honey franchise films. And the characters did, but they were recast.
Yeah.
And this is one of a number of movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that had a slightly longer version that aired on television. Now, this was an interesting phenomenon when movies would air on broadcast TV and basic cable in the time when those formats were very popular. Sometimes material would have to get cut out of a movie, or sometimes maybe a movie just actually wouldn't run long enough to fill up the 90 minutes without commercials that it had to fill up, or sometimes before, like, commercials got so gross, a little bit more than 90 minutes, which was the case of Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. So this movie actually has a longer TV version because I think they needed to pad some running time to get up to like an hour 33 without commercials or something. So there's like a very slightly longer TV version of this movie out there.
Oh, wow. Just like Jingle All the Way.
Yeah. I don't like the extended version of Jingle All the Way very much. I don't like the added scenes.
No, and they swap 2 song placements in Jingle All the Way on TV that doesn't...
Yeah.
It's...
They're less good.
Yeah, I agree. But
yeah,
we'll talk about Jingle All the Way at another time.
Oh, we're good. You better believe that like the first week after Thanksgiving, we're going to be reviewing Jingle All the Way.
Yes.
A movie I have seen more than most movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Oh my! It's my favorite Christmas movie.
You know, dude, it's probably my second favorite after Scrooged. Anywho, one last bit is similar to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and a lot of Disney movies, really. This movie played with a short animated film to open it up when it played theatrically. That was a short called Off His Rockers, which was released on home video on the Laserdisc with Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, but has not seen a reissue on home media since, and is not actually on Disney Plus, just kind of some subpar Laserdisc rips on YouTube.
Why I have no memory of it.
Yeah.
I did see this movie in theaters, but I looked it up and I'm like, I guess I saw this thing, but I don't remember that at all.
It's about 5 minutes long. It's very cute. I want to say that I have a sense memory that I saw it in the theater, but I can't honestly say that I do. But it is a cute little short. It's about a kid obsessed with his video game, and his old hobby horse comes out of the closet and is like, hey, play with me. And the kid just kind of gets mad at him when the horse like takes himself off of his rockers.
I do remember this. It's super sad.
Yeah, it's super sad. It's like early kind of Pixar-esque, like dialogue-free, pulling at your heartstrings kind of stuff. Because then the kid like he sees a framed photo of him and his horse friend, and my cat's eating paper. And then has a change of heart and plays cowboys and Indians with his friend. And I shouldn't have said cowboys and Indians. Anywho,
yeah, they don't say that word at all in this movie.
They don't. They could, but they don't. And it's a cute little short. And interestingly, it seems to be an early example of a blend of CG and cell animation, because the horse and the whole environment seem like CG to my eye, and the little kid seemed like cell animation. So that was an interesting thing to see from 1992. I'm not hugely well versed in the history of animation, but that seems at least kind of significant. I don't know.
Yeah. So in regards to that, I have a Mandela effect, Bernstein, Bears thing going on with my memory of this movie and what was attached to it.
Great. Hit me.
I swear up and down, I saw the Roger Rabbit short film Trail Mix-Up before this movie.
Interesting. What year was that produced?
It didn't come out until 93.
Okay.
And it wasn't even released with a movie that I saw in theaters.
What movie was it released with?
Oh, man.
Do you remember? That's okay. Move on. Move on.
Okay, we can move on. I don't think it was even released theatrically, it looks like. But I have a clear sense of seeing this short in front of this movie.
That's so weird.
It always made sense to me because I'm like, yeah, because Tummy Trouble was in front of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So it makes sense that this would have been in front of this. But I kept looking it up and I was like, how was this not? No, it wasn't? Okay. What? Oh, yeah. It was released with A Far Off Place in 1993.
Okay. I've never seen that movie.
Disney, but maybe the thing is, maybe I saw A Far Off Place in theaters and I have no memory of that movie, but I have a memory of the Roger Rabbit cartoon more.
I feel like I feel like anyone would have a stronger memory of a Roger Rabbit cartoon than whatever that movie is that I have never heard the title of before.
Yeah, it looks like a movie I would have been very bored with as a kid. And I've obviously never seen like this Roger Rabbit cartoon any other time. So it's very strange to me.
Right.
That's just some weird Travis trivia.
That's great. I love that. I dug up some info on some of the personnel here. This movie was directed by a guy named Randall Kleiser, who's best known as the director of Grease. That's the crown in his, that's the feather in his crown, as it were, or the jewel in his crown, feather in his cap, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He also directed The Blue Lagoon, Flight of the Navigator. Unfortunately, he was the director responsible for Big Top Pee-wee. He also directed White Fang, and he directed Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, which was the 3D attraction that we have some pictures of that you sent, Travis.
Yeah, you can go ahead and throw up the first one.
So yeah, there's the first one.
This movie, or like this series of movies, spawned several different things in like my childhood that I remember seeing in Disney World, and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience is one of them. And you see, it was a crazy experience where the premise is you're seeing Wayne Szalinski. He's going to be the recipient of some prestigious award, and you're in the audience for it. The Inventor of the Year awards, and you see in the waiting area, you've got the character that Robin Williams played in Flubber was the previous year's recipient. And during the course of the presentation, you end up getting shrunk along with Nick, and then we can see the other slide there.
Cut to
where Nick is there, and you see Adam, and the whole theater was on gyroscopes, and there were like air effects and water effects, and it was a complete 4D experience.
That sounds really awesome. I'm kind of bummed that I never got a chance to see this.
It ended up replacing Captain EO.
That makes sense.
It played everywhere that Captain EO was. And then when Michael Jackson passed away, they decided to bring back Captain EO because Honey, I Shrunk the Audience had started to age. So they brought back Captain EO for a while, and now Captain EO isn't even playing anymore. Now the theaters that they used are used for some Pixar shorts.
Oh, interesting. So all the gyroscopes and the effects and everything aren't even probably being used to their full extent anymore. No. I can guarantee not.
Interesting.
Bummer. Interesting. I had recently learned that. So it played both in Florida and California.
Yes.
The attraction. Yeah, there's no way I would have ever had an opportunity to see it. What year was that? Was that 97?
I believe it was in 95.
95. That would make more sense if Randall Kleiser still directed it in 95, but then did not.
94.
Oh, 94. Actually. That makes even more sense. Because if it was later, I don't know. I can't remember who directed Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, but
it was Dean Cundey.
Oh, that's right. It was Dean Cundey.
Yeah,
that's right. That Dean Cundey. Okay.
So yeah, this movie and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, I thought were more linked because of the director and the same composer,
Bruce Broughton.
So that theme that he created for this movie, I remember very vividly in the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Interesting. I have some we can talk about him really quick. He's got a huge resume, Bruce Broughton. A lot of TV. Some notable titles I picked out. Young Sherlock Holmes, Harry and the Hendersons, Monster Squad, So I Married an Axe Murderer, and because man loves babies, Baby's Day Out.
Oh yes.
And it's a decent score, but much like that, his score is. You can talk about his score as like a microcosm of this movie, right? Because it's like a totally decent score. It's enjoyable in its context. The theme's not unmemorable, but it doesn't hold a candle to score from the first film, James Newton Howard's score. And that's just kind of like every level of this movie, where it's just like, yeah, it's pretty good. The effects are great. Like, it has these nice moments, but it doesn't hold a candle to the thing that it's following.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's so interesting to me because like it's a very memorable score too.
Yeah.
And it's got this jazzy. It feels like there are a few moments in it where it sounds very similar to Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh yeah, I can hear that for sure. Some other folks we got. The guys who originally wrote Big Baby are Gary Goodrow and Peter Elbling. Goodrow came up with the original story and then I think wrote the original screenplay with Elbling. And neither of these guys were really screenwriters very often. Elbling did some for-hire writing work in the 80s and 90s, but they were both mostly like small part actors on TV and in some movies. They were just kind of around. And then even the guy who wrote the screenplay, Tom Eberhardt, he's mostly a writer-director, not just a screenwriter. One of his things, his first movie that he wrote and directed is this 1984 thing called Night of the Comet, which is this really great B movie, this horror kind of throwback thing from that's really super, super fun. Cannot strongly recommend enough. Night of the Comet actually pairs excellently with Night of the Creeps. It's not also about worms, but they just pair nicely. He also wrote and directed Captain Ron. And he directed the movie Gross Anatomy. Stuart Gordon, who we talked about a lot in the last episode, is still credited as an executive producer on this movie, which makes sense. Interestingly, Albert Band is also credited as an executive producer, who's not credited on the first film. And I don't know if you remember Travis, Albert Band is Charles Band's father, kind of godfather of Moonbeam and Full Moon and all that stuff. I have no idea why Albert Band's name is on this movie. I have no clue. I was not able to find out that information. So, I don't know. Charles Band, if you're listening, get in touch. Let us know whether your dad had anything to do with with Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. We have John Hora, who is the cinematographer, who was Joe Dante's cinematographer for a good number of years. He did The Howling and Gremlins 2, and Matinee. He also shot Explorers, and the Smooth Criminal music video. But he hasn't been very active since about 1998, although he did have an actual cameo on screen in Joe Dante's most recent feature film, which was 2014's Burying the X, which is actually really funny. Strongly recommend Burying the X for a good Joe Dante movie. But I thought that was nice that like he gives his old DP just like a cameo in the movie. And those were the key components in the crew that I felt needed to talk. I talked about Kevin Yeager earlier, who is responsible for a lot of the puppetry and that kind of stuff. So I would assume Yeager Studios was behind a lot of the really cool stuff in this one photo that you sent over, Travis, that I'm going to cut to, the Backlot tour.
Oh yes,
I would imagine very much that Kevin Yeager's studio is responsible for the stuff. And if somebody's listening and knows I'm wrong, please correct me. But yeah, I love this stuff. I love this scaled stuff so much.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like the Disney, because these were on display at the Backlot tour at MGM Studios and Disney World throughout the 90s. And so doing research on this movie, I couldn't find a whole lot on the making of the movie, but I could find a whole lot of this. And I'm like, man, they were really leaning into this, promoting it at the parks.
And I'm going to cut to the big feet one too, because I feel like that fits in here. I love these big feet. It works so well for the reality of this movie to actually have these massive freaking objects, and that's a lot of why I think the movie retains its charm.
Yeah, when everyone is like rushing out of the Hard Rock Cafe, and you can tell, I'm like, those are real giant feet right there.
Yeah.
This looks awesome.
Yeah, I love that stuff so much. It's because it's so part of the world. It feels so tactile. It feels immediate, and yeah, I thought that I love that stuff. Those are my favorite aspects of the movie, probably.
Yeah, and like, there's one question that Sarah and I had while we were watching is why is young Adam like wearing shoes when he just wakes up in the house? He's never not wearing shoes in this movie. And like, looking into everything today, I'm like, I think they're really pushing those Adidases.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been something written in that he has to always wear the Adidas shoes.
Well, here's the thing too. Think of it as this practical thing. There's a really interesting video that David Sandberg, the guy who directed Shazam, put on YouTube, dissecting like some things that are technically continuity errors in the movie, but he reveals like, well, we didn't have this actor this day, and we couldn't work out the schedule to just shoot this extra thing, so we had to figure out a way to put the kids in their coats before they left the house, and so like, this is how we, So these kinds of practical solutions. So if he's not wearing his shoes when he wakes up, that means there has to be time spent showing how the shoes get on his feet. So if the shoes are just on his feet, we don't have to spend, it's those kinds of things, those kinds of reasons. If the shoes are on his feet later, the shoes are on his feet now, because we don't have to put the shoes on. Which makes for those kinds of things. So what do you got about the cast on this one, Travis?
Well, we got a lot of people returning. We got Rick Moranis coming back as Wayne Zielinski. Marcia Strassman came back as Diane Zielinski.
Mm-hmm.
This would be Shrunk the Audience would be the last time she played the character.
Right.
Until she was recast for number 3. Amy O'Neill came back for the beginning of the film to play Amy before she went off to college.
Yeah, for like 4 seconds she came back.
And then Robert Oliveri, this was the final theatrical film that he did before being in Shrunk the Audience and disappearing forever.
I guess he just is like, okay, this residual money is good enough. I'm going home. I'm just gonna operate my cattle farm or whatever he do.
Yeah. And then so newcomers, we got Lloyd Bridges. He came in as Clifford Sterling.
I kind of really like Lloyd Bridges in this movie.
Yeah. You know him from Airplane and Hot Shots and just David Zucker films.
And being the Bridges dad.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's the same Bridges, right?
I think so. That's not in my notes.
You keep going. I'll confirm.
Okay. And then this is the feature film debut of Kerry Russell.
Yeah.
Who she would go on to play Zori Bliss and be in a bunch of J.J. Abrams stuff and Waitress and such.
Yeah.
And Julia Sweeney was one of the nosy neighbors. We know her from
Julia
SNL.
Sweeney.
Yeah.
And Pat. She was Pat.
Yes.
It's Pat, everybody. That film that bombed that Quentin Tarantino did an uncredited pass on. It's Pat.
Yep. And then you already mentioned Alex Daniels, who played Uncle Janosch.
Uncle Janosch
is just a stunt coordinator who worked on a ton of stuff. And then we got Ron Canada, who was Marshall Brooks, and he's character actor who's been in a ton of stuff. He's been in The West Wing, a lot of other things.
Oh yeah, Ron Canada's like that guy's got to have like 300 credits on his IMDb or something. 146, I guess, but that's a lot. Yeah, we know Ron Canada.
And then we've got John Paragon.
John Paragon's in this movie. I totally forgot that, or I didn't know that ever. Actually, I don't think.
Yeah, who, from like Pee-wee's Playhouse, and most notably, I instantly recognized him because of UHF.
Yeah,
where he plays Richard Fletcher.
Yeah. Yeah, the son of the evil TV company, the TV station boss.
Yes.
The whiny little boy. Yeah, John Paragon was actually...
Dad.
Yes, exactly, that man. John Paragon was one of Paul Rubens's closest collaborators in The Groundlings, and for a lot of the heyday of the Pee Wee Herman thing, he played... On the show, he played Terry and Jambi. It's just great because he doesn't pop up very often. So just to see him as an actor in a thing that didn't have anything to do with Paul Rubens or Weird Al or anything was just kind of a treat.
Yeah. Also in his IMDb, I saw that he was in an episode of the show Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, the Harry and the Hendersons show.
Yeah, he was. He played the ex-Terminator.
So a Terminator style, like a Terminator spoof character, probably.
Yes. So
great.
And then we got John Shea played Hendrickson, and he's been in quite a few things, but really nothing of note since this movie.
And that's Hendrickson's the evil science boss, right?
The villain guy.
The villain guy.
Who wants Adam for reasons.
Yeah. For science.
Yes.
And
that's like the majority of like the main cast of this movie.
I guess Bill Moseley plays a marshal in it that I didn't notice him at all. I even noticed that he was in it before I watched the movie, and I thought I have to watch out for Bill Moseley, and then didn't at all.
No.
And it's not like this is like toward the very beginning of his acting career or anything. Like he played Chop Top like 8 years before this or 6 years before this. So like people knew, or he was out there, but I didn't see him.
Yeah. So then once again, I did a thing, and I came up with a little collage of Star Trek actors.
There they are. Walk us through this collage, Travis.
So let me see. So on the far left, the biggest guy, that is Alex Daniels. Uncle
That's
Janusz.
amazing that you found that. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of Wesley's girlfriends who transformed into that. And then we also have, let's see here. We've got Kenneth Tobey, who played the security guard. And that guy was
so friendly.
Yeah. So that's an episode of Deep Space Nine he was in. And then we've got Leslie Neal. She was Constant Winters, the reporter.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So she was an ensign.
I have a note about a line that she had at the very end of the movie.
And then we've got
Ron Canada, right?
Yes. The bottom is Ron Canada, who he was in both Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. See him giving intense looks in both of those scenes.
Because that's what Ron Canada does.
Yeah. And then Kenneth. Yeah. I already said Kenneth Tobey.
Yeah, I think we got them all. Right?
Well, I don't have the guy on the far right. I don't have him named.
Oh, the top right? Who is that?
Yeah. Well, you think I would have taken a note about who that guy was.
In the Kardashian makeup?
Yes. One of the Kardashians was in this movie.
But you didn't know who.
No,
It's not Robert Oliveri, is it?
No, it is not. Oh, if only.
Well, if you can identify this... this...
No, I've got the answer to that. We've got questions about somebody else who we want to know the answer to who this is. Don't waste your time on this guy.
That's true. We'll wait for that guy until we get to that sequence in the movie, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Which we can start digging into the movie now, I think.
Yeah.
We have another like totally great opening credits, an opening animated credits sequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can probably throw up the one of the images for that.
Yeah. This style kind of reminds me of a children's book that I had growing up, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head, and I was remiss and didn't look up the artist who did the key work for this animation. But a great opening sequence. Totally different style to
It is.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So it's already like setting itself apart a bit, kind of.
Yeah, when you pair it with the music, it's just a lot more methodical. It's we're doing this thing and then we're doing this thing. It's not like this frantic adventure. It's a series of experiments.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. And I really like the hand push part of the animation, like the two hands coming in from off screen, not attached to a body, just pushing something off. That was good. And then we get to the opening of the movie, and it opens on mailboxes, just like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, except we have a much more contraption-y mailbox now, which is kind of great. The contraption of the mailbox is pretty great.
Yeah, and it has to be revealed that they're in Nevada now.
Right. So,
for script purposes.
Right.
Once they took the Big Baby script, they're like, we got to move these guys.
How do we put... So basically what happened is like Wayne licensed or sold his shrink tech to Sterling Enterprises or whatever. Sterling is this company. And the abuse of Wayne by his peers continues in this film. Wayne continues to not be even though he's invented a freaking shrink ray, he continues to not be taken seriously by his colleagues, and just because that's just his lot in life. So now they're in Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas. We see in this opening scene in the kitchen, he basically has made he's made himself a get ready in the morning helmet. It has like a shaver on it and a toothbrush and like a lot of servos.
It's got a bunch of different helmets.
Yeah. I have a note later that I'm just going to say now. For every problem, there is a helmet-based solution. And that is the Wayne Zielinski motto. And then we get the first instance of Adam, this little kid, going, "I fix it!" When he breaks something and gets yelled at. He just has this refrain of, "I'll fix it!" Which like made me laugh every time as a kid and made me laugh every time now. I am very charmed by the performance of Adam in this movie made up between these two twins. Apparently one of the twins was more adventurous and better at just getting to like be natural and in the moment, and the other one was a little bit more shy and better at taking direction. So like all these wonderful little scenes of Wayne interacting with his kid are all these like improvised little like adult and baby interactions that are like really kind of precious and really funny.
Yeah. And just like realizing that later and thinking back on the movie and thinking about all these scenes where like they're in bed and he's talking about like, I want to, let's do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Right. Let's do ABC. And he's like, I want to do Twinkle Twinkle. Or when he's ordering dinner or lunch and he's like,
that scene is so funny.
Yeah.
That scene is so funny.
Duck's not very good today.
Duck. Sorry, yeah.
That makes sense that like those would have to be improvised, and you're relying on Moranis to steer us.
Right, and he does beautifully. It's those scenes that feel extremely natural, and it's not it's not like the movie could have been better for having more of that kind of stuff, because I don't know if there's a place for that, but those things make the movie better. Those little natural moments of interaction. Wayne goes off to work in his solar-powered minivan that seems to be the ridicule of everyone who sees it. But, like, why? That's the thing I don't understand, is everyone who sees this van is like, what a dumb piece of crap that is. You pay for gas. This guy don't.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what these anti-science people are all about. I don't get it.
Also, it's got that turbo mode.
It does have a turbo mode. It does have unnecessary switches. I have a note about that later too.
Also, it's got the AC units that go over the shoulders and don't seem to blow on the person. It seems to blow away from them. Yeah,
it's a bad design van.
Yeah.
we get a really amazing classic 90s science lab set in the lab room where the enlargement ray is. They try to before Wayne gets there, he's running late to work, and they're trying to enlarge this crystal, which in a really unfortunate moment of 1992 CG literally explodes into goo. And we get some good Rick Moranis physical comedy as he comes in and everything, jumping over furniture and avoiding this line of people and stuff. Science dorks continue to be mean to Wayne. And then following this scene, we get to see Nick's summer job at the water park, where he's a lifeguard and has like kind of fallen for Kerry Russell's character Mandy. And the teens who are hanging out with Mandy, he's trying to talk to Mandy, and the jerkbag teens are all like, "Look at your dad's weird spaceship car." Guys, you have no income and most of it's going to gas. I'm just saying. So I don't get it. That's a cool car. If I saw that drive down the street, I'd be like, tell me all about your weird freaking car, man.
Once again, they're claiming that like Wayne Zielinski is from another planet, like they did in the first one.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Oh, a guy is so smart, he can't possibly be human. Yeah, it must be an alien. We get back home, and Wayne has this telephone helmet now. Another helmet-based solution. Maybe it's the world's first Bluetooth headset.
I was about to say Bluetooth before Bluetooth.
Yeah, like later in the movie we see that like the number pad of the phone is like on this Velcro pad that he just sticks to the helmet and can pull off and dial the number. It's great. And Nick has a clear phone because of course he does. Nick also has graph paper wallpaper, which is kind of great. His wallpaper's like this giant graph paper grid.
Also, after he picks them up from Wet and Wild, they have to have that lingering shot on Hard Rock Cafe to foreshadow that.
Good note. Yes, we had to bring into because that was in the trailer. That was a big thing. Was Adam with the Hard Rock guitar? That was like a big image from the movie. So Wayne has an idea to get the enlargement thing working, and Diane is off taking Amy to college, so he decides to take Nick and Adam into the lab to try his new ideas. And I love how I don't think it makes sense, but I love how how totally irresponsible Wayne is as a father. Like, it's like actually the worst idea to take your children to that lab. I don't care how old they are. If they're not adults, they should not be in the lab where dangerous lasers are pointing at things.
Just lock them in like the other area.
Yeah, there's like a viewing theater or something up top or something, right? Like, come on now. But the movie very well establishes that Adam is going to escape from whatever you put him in, because Wayne built him this playpen that he always gets out of, and he just doesn't want to be kept in. And he also very much wants his bunny, which is what Wayne has decided he's going to test out the thing on. So it's a good setup of
other things in that lab.
Yeah, there's so many other things that it could be aside from the bunny that the kid's going to want to handle. But he chooses the bunny, and the kid goes after the bunny, which is established and makes enough sense. I do think it's really... So then, of course, the ray goes off, and not only is Big Bunny going to be enlarged to Big Bunny, which I love every iteration of Big Bunny, too. Every time it gets huge, I love just like a massive stuffed rabbit. I love it. Yeah. But there's this like brief moment when Adam gets zapped. He goes like... He has like Einstein hair.
And they're like jumping all those frames.
Yeah. And then he just laughs it off and like sits back in his stroller. Like, it was fine.
Yeah, he quickly gets back in.
Yeah, he just like immediately, before anyone can notice, he crawls back into his stroller. So it's like,
And he doesn't even grab the bunny.
No, he leaves the bunny be.
The whole reason he got up. I do that sometimes, though.
Yeah, me too. So then, Wayne thinks the experiment doesn't work. They go home. There's that really cute scene of Wayne and Adam with the restaurant bit, and then Wayne throws something in the microwave. And apparently how the movie science happens in this is that once imbued with the idea of getting bigger, then cells will or particles will respond to ambient electricity or something. So literally the microwave is going on, and Adam like kind of approaches the microwave, and there's this like blue animation feeding back, and microwave dings, and then Adam grows to 7 feet tall.
Yes.
Ding, big baby. Baby is big now. I thought it was really funny that they went to like a big and tall store for clothes. That was like the first thing. It's like, obviously we have to go back to the lab, but we have to disguise him. So we must first stop at the big and tall clothing emporium.
So he looks like a poorly dressed beekeeper.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, you know, they got the guy, Alex Daniels, to play the Uncle Janos character. So, you know, they've actually got a guy in a big, like, bulky suit that looks like a big toddler with all, like, those proportions.
He does,
and it looks really good.
It does. Like, we never see the face. Sometimes we see, like, a little bit of profile, but mostly it's just we see him from the back. And it's a really good effect. Like, you know, the age of film compositing set aside for those moments, the effects on giant baby in the movie throughout are very, very good.
Yes.
All the
Especially
scale work.
When they're at the house and they're like being chased around and everything going on. And I'm like, some of this is very flawlessly done.
Yeah, like I know that there was some stuff that was just hidden in like pans, like not even cuts. Like the camera would pan and one effect would change to another as they like came around the corner again. Really like incredible effects work all the way through this movie. So they go back to the lab to try to undo it, right? But now the boss has been alerted that Wayne was in there in an unauthorized way. And they find out that somehow during that zapping, Wayne erased the whole project. All the data got erased. I want to point out all 38 gigabytes got erased.
An iPod from 10 years ago got erased.
In 1992, 38 gigs was a thing. It was quite a bit of data. Not like a huge amount, I don't think. Not like a fantastic amount, but like, because how many Johnny Mnemonic fit 320 gigabytes into his head in 1995. So I feel like 38 gigabytes in 1992 is not the most gigabytes, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just don't remember tech that well.
It's still a decent amount.
Yeah.
It's not like you're trying to store a 4K movie in there. It's just numbers.
Yeah, it's like literally less than the capacity of one Blu-ray disc. How storage has changed. So Wayne's like fired from the company, basically.
Don't put Coke bottles in my machine.
Yeah, don't do the Coke bottle. That's what ruined it, I guess. The Coke bottle to dampen the laser. And Nick asks Wayne, I don't understand, why don't we just tell them what happened and then they'll help us? And then there's this great line, remember when we told you not to tell anyone you were shrunk and lost for 2 days? Which I just love that's a conversation that Wayne can have with his kids. Remember when you were shrunk for 2 days and we lost you?
Remember when I almost ate you?
Yeah. The scene where Diane learns of Adam's bigness is similarly great to the equivalent scene in the first movie.
Yeah,
I think
love it.
It's really funny. She faints again. I think it's so funny that like in her sleep as she's passed out, she just keeps going, "Wanna kill Wayne." Yeah, and then we see this amazing small scale set of Adam's bedroom where he's just like bopping around this room, and the set is scaled to make it look like he's filling the room. And then he like rampages around the house while screaming, "I'll fix it!" And like, of course, they live in this like, planned neighborhood or whatever. So like, the entire neighborhood hears commotion and gathers outside of their house.
Yeah, as they do when they're doing the hokey pokey.
They do the loud ass hokey pokey. Back in the lab, they're trying to reconstruct the data to find out what happened, and these two hapless techs, one of which is John Paragon, are like trying to do the zoom and enhance thing with this like one image that's left, and then the evil boss guy comes in, and with like a secret key combination that only he knows, he just erased hours of work that these people had done and clarified the image immediately, and was able to determine it was a baby and a bunny, where he figures out what happened in the lab.
Well, before like he figures it out, they do let it sit there for a while. They cut from like them looking at it and them thinking it's an alien
with 3 eyes. Yeah.
I remember that from this movie about like the whole like new creature with 3 eyes.
For just very briefly, like these two techs thought it was an alien. So the next thing that happens here is the babysitter comes over. Oops. And she gets a glimpse at Adam and immediately passes out, because that is just the effect that the giant baby has on women, is women pass out when they see a giant baby. That is
there are 3 faints that happen.
3. We're coming up on the 3rd instance.
It has to always be complete with a cross-eyed look before they fall.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely necessary. That's what naturally happens when you pass out due to too much stimulus, right?
Yeah.
So Nick is at home by himself watching Adam when the babysitter comes over, because Wayne and Diane are off to the storage facility of the company to get the original shrink ray. Of course, the only thing they actually need, the original shrink ray. So they're like looking through this like, Raiders of the Lost Ark sized warehouse of just like wooden crates trying to find.
It looks like they're in the warehouse from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
They drive their van into the warehouse. I like this. Honey, Wayne finds it and goes, "Honey, it's up here. See if you can find a forklift." Because it's like, Diane knows how to pilot a forklift.
Yeah. And in that scene where he finds it, what the box he just like had opened is the Rosebud sled from Citizen Kane.
I did not even notice that.
Yeah. I was like, what is that? I had to rewind it, and I'm like, this is Rosebud on it.
That's actually really funny.
And then when he cuts to Diane, the box that's directly behind her says Ark of the Covenant on it. So it literally is the warehouse.
So it is the warehouse.
Yeah.
So Sterling Labs owns the Lost Ark.
All they had to do was open that up at the end and fix everything.
That would have fixed the whole situation. Everyone would have been dead, but like the situation would have been fixed. So yeah, like you said, so they leave the warehouse. Diane is driving the van, and as Angela pointed out, why is there even a turbo switch in this van? Number one. And number two, does Diane never drive this van? Does she actually not know the operation of this van?
Yeah, I have it in notes that Diane like completely forgets the mechanics of driving.
So there's that. Meanwhile, back at the house, Adam is watching TV and the electricity happens again. So then he becomes yet huger and like Kool-Aid Man's his way through the wall.
While he's watching Richard Simmons do the locomotion.
Yeah, he's watching Richard Simmons.
Which for the longest time, when I hear the song like do the locomotion, I think of this movie.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny.
There's so many movies where that happens, where I'm like, it's just like imprinted in my brain somehow.
Oh yeah, man. When I hear Lowrider, I think of a gnome named Norm.
So, interesting.
With Anthony Michael Hall, directed by Stan Winston. I think that's correct. It's like this is the only movie that's. Oh, I've seen it recently, but if you wanted to cover it on this podcast, it would fit in with our material very, very well. So yeah, baby's bigger now. He breaks out, crashes a birthday party in the neighborhood, and makes a magician lady pass out. That's the third lady that Adam causes to faint.
Into a pool. Very dangerous.
Into a pool, yeah. I hope that those kids rescued her after that. Kind of, there's not a lot of hope for 5-year-olds rescuing an adult out of a pool. So, like, I hope that person's okay.
Or giant toddlers.
I had no real notes about the I made a note at this point that I had no real notes about the villain so far because the villain's kind of dumb and isn't really the antagonist in the story. He is a little bit. He's kind of a thorn in the side, but the antagonist is really just Adam's bigness.
Yeah. I thought that, like, when we were getting near the end, I'm like, what's he trying to do? Why?
Right.
Just because?
Right. Yeah, again, for science. Like, I don't even know if I have notes on that, but, like, basically what he does is he, like, takes it on in his own authority, even after he gets fired. When Beau Bridges shows up in a couple scenes from now, Beau Bridges fires him and sides with Wayne. And is like, Wayne, how can we solve this? But bad guy doesn't take that and, like, requisitions military assistance to get in a helicopter to try to shoot giant Adam with a giant tranquilizer. And then gets defeated by Jumbo Mom. But we'll get there. So the welding in the back of the van reminded me of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Just like welding in the back of a cargo van reminds me of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Shrinking highway patrol cops is absolutely the best way to deal with them.
Yeah.
I think that we should issue citizens shrink rays that only work on police.
That'd be nice.
That is the platform I'm going to run for office on. Shrink rays for the people. I did think it was really funny that Diane, like, screeches to a halt. Is like, Wayne, you unshrink those police right now, because they don't even have a concept of what's happening to them, and then just decide they're not going to pursue it. So the baby,
one of those policemen, I noted, he's not really an actor. He's only been in like 2 things, and he's a musician now.
Oh, really?
And he wrote some songs. He wrote some of the songs that were in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting career in Hollywood, this guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I think the moment where that kind of thing, or like even the kind of thing that we've been talking about, like with Adventures in Dinosaur City, where like a lot of the people didn't go on to have careers in Hollywood, or at least in the film industry, that we can tell by IMDb. My first like real life encounter with that was I used to work for a business manager in Beverly Hills, and I'd have to go to these banks and do deposits and these other things all the time. And there was this one guy who is like an assistant manager at this branch of City National Bank. And we were just like chit-chatting while he was like processing my stuff. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to be a film composer. Are you familiar with this movie, The Pornographer?" Which I was, because I mean it's not a porno movie. It's about a guy who is a pornographer, but it like aired on that slot on Cinemax when I was a kid. So like I have seen it because of that. But I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Yeah, I did the score for that." And I looked him up like later. He did that and a couple other things, and now he's just like this branch manager at like City National Bank in Beverly Hills. So it's not like the people go away. It's just that like the work goes away, and then they have to figure out what the fuck the next job is. Oops, sorry. Oops.
I fix it.
I fix it. Can you just censor it with that? So yeah, I always find that kind of thing super interesting. The baby gets bigger now. I can't remember how does he feed off power lines at this point?
Yeah. They've got him loaded in a truck, and they're
That's
driving
right.
along the highway, and
They capture him.
The power.
Right.
That's when it gets really scary.
Right.
Because then he picks up Nick and the babysitter, and he's like, "Ooh, toys!"
Yeah,
puts them in his pocket.
Toys.
Puts the strangest things in his pockets.
Yeah. They do explain the silly movie science of why the baby keeps growing, so that's good.
Yes. Which toddlers are obsessed with their pockets and putting things in them.
Oh yeah. My mom reminds me of frequent things I would pull out of my pockets when I was a small child. She likes to tell me the story about this one day where I came in from the backyard and just reached into my hand and pulled out what was inside my pocket, and I pulled out just a handful of dirt and worms that I had just pulled out of the backyard. That I was very proud of. There's this really great little moment, and there's a lot of work that went into this little moment, and it's when huge Adam is just like walking down this desert road and comes to a traffic light that's red, and he stops and a car goes by and then the light turns green and then he continues on. And it's great because it's a scale set. Like, it's this really great little scale set that if like you're not looking for that, you would never notice it because the effect works beautifully. But it's this really great like miniature set that a guy's just walking down.
Yeah, I could kind of tell just by the movement of the car. I'm like, I guess it was a miniature car.
Yeah. That's what gave it away to me too, because the traffic light looked real to me up until I realized it wasn't. Oh yeah. Okay. I actually have two noted lines by this reporter. I forgot that. The first one was the baby being the most important story of the decade, which if we're just considering 1992 to 2002, like, lady, I wish that had been true. Even if we were just considering the 90s, lady, I wish that had been true. Yeah, the giant pocket.
Are you saying that if there had been like a 50-foot baby at some point in the 90s, that wouldn't have been the biggest thing in the decade?
No, it wouldn't have been, because major tragedies still happened after that in 1992. I mean, TWA Flight 800 at the very least happened after this movie happened.
Yeah.
So I'm just, maybe my mind is tragically oriented rather than science oriented, and maybe I should consider the story about a giant baby to be more significant. But I don't know. But yeah, like you said, the giant pocket that Nick and Mandy are sitting in is a wonderful set. Mm-hmm. There's this, I don't remember what the context, but Bro Bridges has to get on the phone to somebody at some point, and he just goes, "Yes, sir. It's a pretty big baby." Yeah, a big bunny has to be airlifted in with a helicopter, and Wayne is riding its head. And that's great too, because there's these shots of Adam, like, they're shot in scale to make the baby look huge. But like on top of the dangling big bunny, there's like a Wayne miniature that's like sized and scaled on top. It's really nice. I love that kind of thing. And it's not like a computer animated little guy. It's just, you can't see him moving anyway.
Yeah. Also, Wayne is holding on to Big Bunny, and he is not strapped in at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Just wearing a helmet.
Not even a little bit.
Riding this thing dangling from a helicopter.
And when Wayne mentions the dreaded word nap, the kid freaks out. No nap! No nap! And then everything goes haywire, and Wayne falls off of Big Bunny and falls into Adam's overalls and kind of lands on the other side of the pocket from the kids. So like the kids are like in this layer and Wayne's like over here, and says hi, and then like falls down Adam's overalls and escapes out of his pant leg. And I'm sitting there thinking, why don't Nick and Mandy just do that?
Yeah.
Why don't they just slide down Adam's overalls and get out of there? They could have. But then then we get to the big piece. Maybe
it's kind of a dangerous move. That was a 1 in a million shot.
You think? I feel like that seemed like a very safe way to get out of there.
You could have gotten stuck in a diaper on the way down.
Oh,
I have questions about like.
Oh yeah.
In this movie.
Oh yeah, I have those questions too. How does he use the bathroom?
Yes.
Does he use the bathroom? Are the poops giant?
Yeah, they have to be.
They have to be. So now we get to the big set piece of the movie, Las Vegas Strip. Great snapshot of Las Vegas in 1992. Like, just really great document of Vegas from the 90s. I guess I have a third line from the reporter, which is, "A human baby of abnormal proportions is approaching the city." There's a light up sign, like one of the light up, just like bulb signs that says "Find shelter now" on the strip. Old guy, nobody's bigger than Wayne Newton in this town, and then like a giant baby's there. It's great. There's a Godzilla joke.
So there has to be. They did that several times in the 90s when they brought up something big entering the U.S. because it happens again in the Lost World.
Yeah, it does. And now, there's a U.S. Marshal involved now, and they get this idea that Adam loves ice cream, and the ice cream truck is very distracting. So the U.S. Marshal is going to drive this ice cream truck with a newly attached, very loud speaker to try to draw Adam away from the power source of downtown Las Vegas, because he's like, I don't know what the scale is now. He's like absolutely ginormous at this point.
Yeah. Now, and as soon as I saw the ice cream driver, I thought for sure, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is somebody else. This is somebody I know. This ice cream driver is obviously
cut to
Peter Mayhew.
Peter Mayhew.
I swore, I'm like, this has got to be Peter Mayhew, and it's not.
Peter Mayhew is Chewbacca, for those who don't know that are listening.
And yeah, Peter Mayhew doesn't have any like credits in this movie. Nobody is credited as the ice cream driver,
but he's obviously there.
Yes. He gets like this beat. And also this is Peter Mayhew like just a few years ago, this picture is, and this ice cream driver is 1992.
And they look approximately the same age here.
I know. So who is this person?
So
Peter Mayhew time travel back to cameo in Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
So this is our bigger question here. Internet at large. If you or anyone you know has information that can lead to the identification of the man on the left, we need your help. Please tweet us or something. But that's a good catch. Want to know who it is. I'm very curious.
I mean, because also I was studying it. When they get him out, he's to scale with the rest of the people getting him out. So I'm like, this is obviously not Peter Mayhew because he'd be way taller.
Oh, he'd be 7 feet tall, yeah.
Yeah, and they would have and thinking about it then, I'm like, well, they obviously probably would have also used Peter Mayhew in the production of the film.
Right, he'd probably be playing Uncle Janos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was not is... Yeah.
Can you imagine directing Chewbacca to move around like a baby? That would be fun. So yeah, this ice cream truck thing. At this point, Nick and Mandy are trapped in a car. They've fallen into a car, and Adam is playing with it as if it's a toy because, like, that's the logical thing. And Adam's about to put it in his mouth. So Nick gets to say, "Don't eat us," just like he did in the first movie.
Yeah, nice little callback. Also, Nick doesn't know how to work a car either.
No, he doesn't. No.
I understand he doesn't have a license or anything, but still.
Right.
When you get in a car, I feel like even at that age, I knew you don't mess with the radio to make
right.
yourself...
You don't just start pushing buttons to make the car go. Like, you have a basic understanding of how it works, and it's not that. I think I noticed was, and I mean, maybe this is, you know, given the kind of national reaction we've seen to pandemic restrictions, this is maybe not so surprising, but an unbelievable amount of people will not stay away from the giant baby's dangerous giant legs.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will just not vacate, and I don't understand why.
Just have to crowd around.
Yeah, just get closer and run away constantly. That's the thing that kept striking me. Like, anytime the baby moved, more people are running away. And it's just like, why were you so close you have to run if it takes a half a step?
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, he didn't have to be that big. If I see, like, you know, a 2 or 3 year old that's only like the 7-foot version, I am running. Oh, they're strong enough as it is.
Yeah, agree.
I'm just like, watching this movie is almost kind of a horror movie because I'm trying to imagine, like, because I have a kid that's like around this age,
yeah,
and sometimes the only way you can get him to do things is because you're bigger than and stronger than he is.
Right.
And I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my gosh, if he were anywhere close to this size, I would be in so much trouble. I feel like there's a lot of just like truth going on with the like the Wayne Zielinski character and myself, and we'll skip to the end a little, like the solution to make the mother bigger, because he is or she is the only one that he will respond to and listen to, because
but only if she's actually bigger, because otherwise he doesn't recognize what's happening. Because
I mean, in our household, it's a similar thing where mom is definitely the boss, and anything she says, he will listen to more than if dad says.
Well. Yeah, and there's even another light up sign that says extreme danger. People were not paying attention to that in Vegas. I just love how like the production design and the movie decided that like these casinos would change their signs fast enough to warn of the giant baby danger. So at one point, Adam sets the car with the kids up on the leg of the cowgirl, like the kicking leg cowgirl. Mm-hmm. And Kerry Russell just decides to leave, kind of, right?
I don't know what's going on there. Like, she's unbuckled her seatbelt, and she's... What? What is she doing?
She tries to leave, and then it's this, like, moment of struggle to get her back in there. It's like, why did that happen? So, anyway... they start turning off all the lights in Vegas, which is another great sight, because I do believe they actually powered down the Las Vegas Strip to get these shots, and
they would have to,
yeah, and it's like really cool looking because it's not a sight that you see very often. And so the ice cream truck is driving away. Adam is chasing it. The plan is working, and then they realize that there's no rest of the plan. Like the plan literally only extended to get Adam away from downtown Vegas, and then ended. And then there's a giant baby gaining on this U.S. Marshal driving an ice cream truck, and they're just like,
they never anticipated that he would be as fast as the ice cream truck. When he's like, he's gaining on me, and they like look at each other like, oh boy, we never thought of this.
Yeah. So, and now we get up to the big thing of Adam with the hard rock guitar, which is like this great image of Adam with the big neon light up Hard Rock Cafe guitar. But it made me wonder, did they only write in Nick having taken up guitar to establish that Adam liked to play with it entirely as a way to justify interacting with the hard rock guitar, knowing that this was the climax of the film, was this like big thing in downtown Vegas? Like, we have to figure out how he can hold the guitar. Why would he hold the guitar? Maybe there's a guitar in the house. Who has the guitar? Does Nick play guitar? You know, like, I could imagine that conversation between the writers very easily.
Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing happening
there is. I did want to note that at least 3 women in white jumpsuits flood out of the Hard Rock Cafe. A lot of very similar looking people flood out of the Hard Rock Cafe.
Also, the guitar retains power for that long.
It does. It's connected by like one cord or something by the end of it that's somehow powering the whole thing, which doesn't make any sense. But visually, it's great. Whatever. The bad guy comes in the helicopter with a reluctant military dude who's a father and doesn't want to like bother a giant kid. But does, and Adam gets shocked, right? Does he get electric shock? And that's when he starts crying?
He shoots the guitar, and he either gets...
right.
Yeah, has to be what happens.
And the world's heart melts at the sight of a giant crying baby.
Everyone it's like everyone realizes, oh, he's a person.
Oh,
too.
it's a person. It's a baby. He doesn't know. And you know, Diane gets hugified, which is wonky movie science too, because like Adam was growing just based on like having been fed power. So like, how do you calibrate the machine to get her in the right scale, and then shrinking them both back down at the same time? Like, does that work? Does that like undo whatever is in Adam that wants to keep getting large when he's exposed to electricity? There's all kinds of questions here.
Yeah.
that aren't posed by the movie science of the first movie.
No. Even the fact that the first thing they think of is like, we got to get the shrink ray to fix this.
Right.
And it's like, can you set the scale that you're shrinking to?
Right. And also, like, just the weirdness of, like, them having to, like, figure out the enlargement aspect of it when Wayne had already seemingly figured out the enlargement aspect of it at the end of the first movie is just, like, a weird plot thing in general. I don't know.
It's very true. Yeah, with the big turkey and the big...
Like, he already made stuff big. Why is it not still making stuff big? Because reasons. Movie reasons. So... here's the reporter line I kept talking about. This reporter I keep talking about notes, after seeing the giant mom and giant baby, I need a vacation. And I just thought, ma'am, if that made you need a vacation, I sincerely hope you have retired from journalism by 2020, because I don't know if you'd be able to hold up with what's going on if a giant baby and giant mom freaked you out that hard.
Yeah. There's also a weird beat with her where I think it's after he's crying, they kind of start to pull in on her, and you can tell they cut something where she was about to say something else. And they never did.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Also, when Diana is embiggened, one of the guys in the crowd says, "Well, look at that mother."
Yes, that was a doofy as heck line.
And Diane completely forgets that there are kids in Adam's pocket at all.
Right. They all forget that the other son and his would-be girlfriend are in Adam's pocket this whole time, and they get shrunk and then have to be found. Yeah. But she
also could have crushed them when they did the hug.
Yeah, easily could have been crushed.
And they had to make like a giant.
Right, there was a giant mom torso. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I did notice that. I'm like, oh, they made someone else big. They made another giant human prop. I did really like when Diane becomes normal size again. She just like knocks out the bad guy. Like that guy shows up and he's like, "It was just a tranquilizer," and then she just like decks him, and it's great because that guy needed to get punched in the face real bad.
That's an emotionally true beat.
Yeah, I can see Sarah knocking someone's ass on the ground if they were messing with one of your kids.
Helicopter would have landed. When she gets away, I think it would have just gotten chucked.
Props to Sarah, I believe. So then Nick and Mandy and the car get shrunk, and then they have to like close down that strip for the next day while Wayne Zielinski by himself is looking for the shrunk things to make sure they don't get crushed.
Which this time it was an easier thing to find because you're finding a little model car.
Right. Tiny model car, but something more significant than like a little ant-sized spec person. The scene with Nick and Mandy in the car, and then there's a plastic toy of a Native American behind them that Adam just had in his pocket. The Native American being a thing notwithstanding, I thought the scene, the way it played with just like those two and a stupid toy that was the size of them silently watching them from the back seat, I thought was really funny.
Yeah, that's another line that reporter says.
What is it?
It's like, I didn't write it down, but she says like there are three people that are in the car right now, and it's Nick Zielinski. I think she names the two, and then she goes, and a man dressed in an Indian costume.
Yeah, I remember that line. And then at the end of the movie, they get to keep Big Bunny, Big Bunny, because they never shrunk Big Bunny.
Yeah, which she's like, what are we going to do with this? And it's like, the same thing that you did with you guys?
Yeah, you would think, because I mean, I think that bunny's bigger than your house. It had to be airlifted in, so like, but movie ends. At least the movie doesn't end on one of its own worst jokes like the first movie, so it improves on it in that regard.
They didn't like try to go to credits, and then all of a sudden Nick looks at the camera and he goes, "Oh, French class."
Friggin' French class. Did I steamroll over anything you wanted to observe about the movie?
No, I don't think so. Like, a lot of really awesome visual effects. Obviously, like watching this movie as a kid, I just like you just like buy things.
Yeah.
You never question anything. And now like watching it, I'm like, oh, some of these effects have not aged as well.
Yeah, that's true. And like even in comparing it to the first movie, it's just like I read a couple like vintage reviews of this movie, like reviews from when it came out in '92, and one of the things was it's like the movie's one joke, right? It's just like baby gets big, what's the solution? Get the shrink ray from the last movie. Okay. That's literally it. And the movie drags out that plot for 90 minutes. The characters don't really have arcs. It's just an adventure. So like there's I think there's a lot of reasons down at the script level why this movie just is not as good as the first movie. But in a lot of technical ways, I am just as impressed by it in different ways as I am. Not just as. The first one's way more impressive. But there's still really good stuff visually in this movie.
No, I agree. Just marvel at just the big props that they made for this.
Yeah, giant feet, guys. Just giant feet. Big feet. And big
They
money.
need to just like they're not going to do this anymore. But like probably back when they made this movie, they should have taken the Hard Rock Cafe that was in downtown Disney and made like a giant Adam playing the guitar the whole time.
Oh yeah.
outside.
Or maybe just like an arm reaching for like his arm reaching from behind the building, grabbing the neck of the guitar.
Yeah.
Because there's that funny moment where he like literally like peeks his head out from some buildings and just goes, "Hi."
Peekaboo.
I was that kid was so charming in the movie. I was endlessly amused by the performance of those twins. Thought they were really good. So yeah, it's we cannot say of this movie that you can't go wrong.
No.
Huh?
Mommy's sleeping.
Mommy's sleeping. Yeah, like we can't say you can't go wrong watching this movie, right? Like you can. It's not that great. But if you have some kind of, childhood attachment to it in a nostalgia kind of way, which checks the boxes for us, or if you're just interested in seeing some like cool movie effects from 1992, it's not a bad way to spend 90 minutes. It's not.
Oh. Yeah, watch this and then find a bootleg of Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Yeah.
Watch that and pretend that it ends there. They never made a third movie.
Is there a bootleg of Honey, I Shrunk the Audience online?
Those images I pulled were from somebody who did this, put it up on YouTube.
Oh, great. I'm going to have to watch that.
I don't think Disney really cares that that's up on YouTube. A lot of the effects have not aged as well, and they are not complete without feeling what's going on. But
Sure.
still pretty great.
Did I interrupt you? Did you have something else you were saying and I cut you off?
Oh, no, not really. I was
Okay,
just going to talk about how there is a third movie, which was going to be theatrically released.
Oh, was it?
And Michael Eisner was so impressed at their direct-to-video successes that they had been having that he was like, let's put it out on VHS. And so they did.
Womp womp.
And I do not have any fond memories about that movie. I've always felt that it looks bad. It looks cheap and.
So you've seen it, or you have always avoided?
I've seen it.
Okay,
and it's not that good. And yeah, directed by Dean Cundey, and it's so ironic to me how bad the movie looks, considering it's made by the guy who shot one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, Dean Cundey was an amazing cinematographer in his day. I mean. You're talking about Back to the Future, but if we're right, you're referencing Back to the Future.
Oh, Back to the Future and Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's right. He did shoot Jurassic Park. But I mean,
and the Flintstones.
Nice.
I think he shot the Flintstones based solely on the fact that like he's like, I know how to shoot big animatronic dinosaurs.
That's a good qualification. You know what I recently learned, because I follow Kyle MacLachlan on Instagram, is Kyle MacLachlan still has his wardrobe from the Flintstones movie.
Oh, wow.
And also, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves is co-written by Mystery Science Theater's Joel Hodgson.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Maybe it's better than I remember.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I'm not gonna go for this one. Oh, what I was gonna say about Kundi is, if you want to see something that's like really, I think one of his most impressive works as a cinematographer is Escape from New York, and in particular the scenes where they're walking through the sewers and it's lit only by torchlight. And as a person who works in the camera department, that was not easy to do in 1981. For the cinematographer, for the actors, and definitely not for who would have been me, the focus puller on that movie. Was it Clyde Burke was the focus puller on that movie? I want to say it was Clyde Burke. I made a note of who the focus puller was on that, because he was Dean Cundy's focus puller for a long time and recently retired. But his last thing that he did before he retired was the first season of Stranger Things. And I also know that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill used Escape from New York as a way to get their crew that had been making the last few movies with them, used Escape from New York to get everybody in their respective unions. So I would have... I envy the career of this other first AC whose first union project was Escape from New York and who got to retire after Stranger Things season 1 after having like a crazy career for 35 years. Clyde Bryan was the guy's name.
Clyde Bryan.
So yeah, man, good career this guy had. Kundi. So yeah, but I've only ever heard Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves is total junk. So
yeah. I mean, watch the trailer and see if it entices you. But I don't think it will.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I'd be interested is just to see some Rick Moranis thing that I haven't already seen.
It's his last movie.
That's weird and sad.
Last live action movie.
Right. Because he's appeared with his voices since. Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you? Because I didn't listen to last week's episode. Did you put that clip of Autobahn in there?
Yes, I did.
Good. I think that's all I got on Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. You got anything else?
No, not really. Other than as well as the third movie, they also made a TV show,
which I watched off and on, just because this circumstance when I was a kid where my brother and I would have to go to Buffalo like once a month with my mom for my grandma, and we were limited in our viewing options, and that show happened to be on TV a lot. So
yeah,
I happened to watch a lot of that TV show. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. So we have not discussed next week. What we want to do next week. I'm looking at our list. All right, Travis, what are you feeling? Do you want to stay in the family vibe, or do you want to veer from the family vibe for a week?
I am fine with whatever you're feeling.
All right. Heck it all. Also, we're gonna talk about another adult movie. I was very close to picking here either Pet Shop or Suburban Commando, but I do really want to talk about Joe's Apartment. I would love to talk about Joe's Apartment on a podcast,
which I have actually never seen.
That's great. Joe's Apartment is unfortunately not available in high def, which is a real crying shame, but that does make it a cheap rental on Amazon. So it is available to rent on Amazon. Cool. I think that's the only place it's streaming. MTV's first movie, Jerry O'Connell, Megan Ward, singing bugs, and I'm gonna. There's a character whose name is a curse word. So there's gonna be that next week. It's the S word for sensitive ears. It's the word that starts in S and ends in IT. So, Joe's Apartment's a PG-13 movie. It'll be a PG-13 conversation. I think we can deal with that. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. So that's Joe's Apartment. Everybody get on that. We'll be covering that next week.
And yeah. I'm Alex Brunel. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Alex Brunel. And yeah, what about you, Travis?
Well, you can find the show on Facebook. We also stream on Twitch and YouTube. You can find the show at Who Watches Pod on Twitter. On Instagram, you can subscribe to the audio version of the show, which is different than the video version you may be watching. Mm-hmm. And that is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts.
All
Please
the pod
subscribe.
places.
Leave reviews. We appreciate that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have right now.
Same.
So until next week, please stay safe, stay sane, and stay smiling.